Welcome to another edition of Rise and Shine. Today we're talking about COVID-19 and dealing with the government and our political leaders. Am I my brother's keeper? Stay tuned for these important messages. We'll be right back to these important messages.
I was the lead gunner of the convoy that we had. While I was suppressing fire, I felt a flick on my upper biceps area. Right after my recovery, I had to find myself again and see what else I could do to continue my selfless service. Having an organization like the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, putting me back into working with wounded troops helped me to process my injury. I'm Sergeant Mary Herrera, and my alive date was November 8th, 2003.
For more information, visit saluteheroes.org.
I traveled recently. I've been poked, swabbed, wiped, and steamed in temperature more times than I can count. Heard enough of their car smash? Call 476-PAIN.
We'd just like to have a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity for us to come together to share in ideas that can make our community better. Give us the wisdom and understanding, and with your knowledge and what you say in the scripture, through understanding, it will be the greatest thing in the world. In our name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Okay, so in the subject matter we have today, we talked about COVID-19 in previous shows, but we wanted this show to talk about how things have changed in America. And I would say that the beautiful thing about the stimulus is, we talked a little bit about the stimulus packages that the politicians in Washington have put down. But one thing that we haven't spoke on is great opportunity will be unleashed on America. There'll be great loss also, because some businesses that worked before COVID-19 won't work after COVID-19. But there will be new businesses that we don't even think about yet that will flourish after COVID-19. But today we want to talk about social gatherings, the football games, the malls, some of the young people. Talk to the young people in your community, talk to the young people around your table, and to get an understanding as to how are they socializing today versus yesterday.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think that's a good thought that to talk about, because we see the socializing of the masses of the people here in America and around the world actually is different. Like you said, you go to an airport, they had all this stuff that you had to go through anyway with the security part, but now we've added something else to it, the COVID-19. And who says that other things won't happen in the future. But the way I think we have socialized will be changing in this present and in the future, how we do things. Hopefully this virus will be over with soon, and we can kind of get back to, at least we can have some distance that we can communicate. Because the human being, they need that love, that touch, the hugging, and all of that stuff. That's just part of being human.
But we also need to live too.
I agree with that, Robert. Right now, social distancing is definitely encouraged.
Well,
but we want to get back to that.
I really believe that I think the whole world has forever changed with COVID-19.
Yeah, I think so.
But I just got off the phone before I came here with my daughter, my grandson is a student at the University of Alabama. Mm-hmm. This morning I heard that there were 500 students who were infected because they have failed, they have set their own norms and they don't want to change, you know. Mm-hmm. You got to change your behavior because this is a deadly disease. Mm-hmm. But then again, the thing that really bothers me is that the national government has not taken its effective place in trying to set a national agenda of how we should even deal with COVID.
But I want to say, Brother Ballows, that too many times we put our trust in the national government when they're not our keeper. I mean, when it comes to heart disease, if I eat sugary foods, if I eat too late at night, if I do certain things, then I'm going to have heart disease, and it's not up to the government to stop me from doing that. It comes with certain freedoms of living.
It's not up to the government.
And smoking, the cigarette smokes.
That's right.
Now, if the government was our keeper, they should just ban smoking altogether.
No, but this is you took me out of context, Dr. Gordon.
Well, you start coming to do that.
What I'm talking about for the national government is that it has been a consensus across the board, both Republican and Democrat, saying that our national government should have set in other countries the national agenda in Italy and France that has caused a diminishing in the progress on the COVID-19 because the people exhibit the same. In New York, for example, the leadership in New York has brought about the diminishing of capacity of the COVID-19. So when I refer to the national government, you know, I'm talking about examples need to be set by wearing a mask, about being social distances. These are the types of things that transit down to the populace of people that's going to cause the COVID-19 to diminish its capacity.
When we're talking about social the gatherings, but I want to agree to disagree with you on that premise. I'm a strong Democrat, and I've always been that way, and I don't agree with that consensus. So you can't say we all agree, because there's no monolithic group. No, there's all blacks don't agree, all Democrats don't agree, all Republicans don't agree. So when people sit up and say that everybody's on the same page, my position would be that if I hire Brother Hasid to do my accounting, and I got a leak in the faucet, that's not his. I didn't hire him for that, and he can comment on it. He can say, "Hey, you got a leak in the faucet." He can put a bucket under the faucet to catch the leak so my wood doesn't rot. Yeah. But that's not his position. We didn't hire him for that position. Nor do we put anybody.
Are you referring to the national government?
I'm referring to the Democrats and Republicans who are our national leadership, the Congress and the president. I'm saying that they're not the stewards of
what are they then, Dr. Gordon?
They are here to make laws and to try to make sure that the welfare of the people, but they're not the parents of the people. I mean, they allow us to do many bad habits, and if you want to fix this habit over here, so you guys got to do a better job at safety, then we do need them to go ahead and chime in on the cancer. Chime in on, because half of the cancers are preventable. Half the heart disease are preventable. We're losing 600,000 people a year. 600,000 people a year on heart disease. We're losing 600,000 people a year on cancer. It's like when we talk about if we get 100 people die in a city, but then when this one person dies, it depends on who kills them that matters. To me, every death matters, every ailment matters, but we can't I can't say to the school board commissioner, how dare you not change the shoes of my child when you saw that their soles were worn out on the shoes. I would like for you to do that, because I love to spend your money.
Yeah, but let me give you another example.
Responsibility.
Let me give you this example, Dr. Gordon. I'm a father. I've been a father
for many, many years.
Many years. The only way that my sons have developed into the behavior that they have developed, and the honor and how they treat me as a father, is because of the example that I have set. You mentioned about this commissioner.
Fathers are not fathers.
Well,
our parents.
Yeah, but we supposed to be setting examples.
The music artists are not our parents. The musicians are not our parents. The sports players, they're not our parents.
No, but see, you from another country. Well, I have to rescind that.
Yeah, I would just like to say on that there are people that we look to for leadership and for example. And it has been examined and looked at in here because of the way that we have treated this disease. We have lost a lot more lives than we should have. As you say, one life is too many. We may have lost a few, but when you got people who says, well, it's just gonna miraculously go away. We expected this to miraculously go away in April or June. It did not happen. It never was going to happen. No. And when you got people leading these type of examples, one life that I think that was really just should never have been lost, but they fell into this victim. Don't wear a mask. Don't social distance. Be there, and we know that person is Herman Cain. I think that person was like, we saw him on TV, he was healthy from what we could see, but then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, he's gone because examples that others gave him. So we do have to hold people accountable. They hold all of us accountable. Like the exaggeration is they say you can't go in a movie theater when they open back up again.
Some states
But you
have
can't go in a movie theater and holler fire. You're gonna have to be accountable for those actions. So now we got people that's encouraging people not to wear masks. And I think that is really a shame because now you have divided the society up into two different camps. You got folks who's against people, they see you wearing a mask and they want to talk about you. You got folks who wearing a mask and they see you not wearing a mask and they want to talk about you. Whereas we should have a consensus, as you said, Mr. Battle, to do. We see this as a disease that's killing each other, and whether if you wore a mask, as someone said, what harm will it do to you? What you got to lose? Well, we know in this case you got your life that you can lose.
Well, I agree to disagree.
To disagree, right.
And I would say that, yes, there are people on either side to wear the mask or to not to wear a mask. And there's a person in the middle that says, I wear a mask. Well, I stand on the side of science and the fact that the science does not agree.
That's all we talk
Science does not agree.
That's all we saying, Dr.
Science does not agree. No, you're not. You're picking
thing
one
he
avenue. You're picking one avenue and act as if that one avenue has all the answers. But if you look at, if you research and find out about these scientists, what they've said over the months, you will find that they've changed their tune because they found out more information. So in January they said this, in March they said that, and in June they said this, and it could be the same scientists. So I submit to you that there has been about 3 or 4 different lanes that corporate virus could have taken, and many people just didn't know, and they assumed things that because of the facts I have here, I assume this must be the way to go. And I assume that's the way to go. So there was never a clear, scientists have never all agreed on one path. It's like scientists never agreed on global warming. But there are people out there who would submit to you that global warming is a uniform, a monolithic pattern, a monolithic thought. But there's no, you can't find all scientists going in one direction on global warming.
Well, and I agree with you, Dr. Gordon, but let me give you this example.
Yes, sir.
You know, just take for instance, when you look at the disproportionate number of African Americans who've been impacted by the COVID virus, the number of other races because of race, we're looking at health care. There are underlying factors because African Americans are disproportionate, occupy most of those conditions that precipitate the type of behavior that put us at risk for COVID. But at the same time, though, you say you follow the science. The science
don't agree. The science. I'm saying that. I say that to say that the science is not on one accord.
Don't make me get on. I'm on the air now.
Get indignant. Get what you want to do.
Well, the president is the one that on one accord. That's right.
The president is on one path, but the Congress can be on another. Say, Speaker of the House Pelosi could say, "Hey, I want to follow this scientist," and the president could say, "I want to follow that scientist." But it doesn't mean one is right or wrong. It just means they follow different scientists.
So suppose you was in the house, Dr. Gordon.
Well, you know they call
your mother went this way and your father went that way.
You been in my house? You been in my house, brother?
What you think gonna happen to the child? You know, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm the child. I'm the child. Hey man, I'm the child.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
Doc, they call it when I was coming up splitting hairs. They call that splitting hair.
What?
But I agree with Mr. Battles. Here, just recently on a news report, a mayor had ordered her city to wear the mask. The governor of the state sued her for ordering the people. Now, if that ain't splitting some hairs, if that is not misleading the people, whoever is right, I'm not saying who's right.
But it's not splitting the hairs.
Well, you went 2 different directions when you should be going, should be one hair.
That was a law. Splitting the hair is something that's like small.
He threatened to sue her.
That's splitting the law. I'm not splitting the law. That's saying that's a major change.
Not only say I disagree, but I'm gonna take you to court to make the folks not wear. Why?
Well, to make it optional for like in Georgia, I think that was Governor Kemp and the mayor Keisha maybe of Atlanta. But I think what one was saying is, that's not enforceable, and we want people to have the option to, and they should do it if they want to respect their neighbor.
Right.
But the other was trying to make it a mandate, and which would be impossible to
let me say this, because I was in Savannah, Georgia just recently, and the mayor there ordered the city to wear masks in the same state as this governor nothing was said. I thought it was a great idea. Some people did have masks and some people didn't have the mask, even with his mandate. Nothing was said. Just great. But the mayor of Atlanta, when she did it, she got to be sued.
Well, if
now the people, I think should have. I think we should have been at the governor's house there, letting him know that, hey, we don't appreciate this, and she did bring that up. That, hey, here's other cities in the state that did this and you did nothing. They just so happen to
because they're not enforcing it, and that's what I'm saying. Like in Mobile,
why you say she?
With Mobile, Alabama, is the same way. Walmart says it's mandatory to wear a mask, and I've seen many people wear the mask, walk in the door with a mask, and some walk in the door without a mask and won't be stopped, and some will have the mask pulled down once they get in, and some are coughing like Brother Battles in there, and every time they cough, you be like Corona.
Well,
we're going to pause for an important break, and we'll be right back with these messages.
Had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts, on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
H&H Financial Services in Mobile has over 20 years experience in accounting, bookkeeping, appraisals, real estate, and year-round tax preparations. Give them a call today at 251-438-1620.
Welcome back. We've been talking about COVID-19 and some of the policymakers' decisions and how they fared on the community.
And some of the social effects that it has had. Now, you opened the program up by saying, am I my brother's keeper? That's been an important subject over decades and years, thousands of years. And I think that's a good question to raise. Am I my brother's keeper? And we've had different answers. Like you say, we've had some on the pro and some on the opposite side and we should look at both. Am I responsible for your actions? No. Because every individual, even in the family, they do not put the parent in jail for the child doing something wrong.
Sometimes.
That's usually if they hadn't come of the age where the parents are responsible. But if Robert does something wrong, or if I do something wrong, they don't go get our parents and arrest us for us doing something wrong. So when we ask the question, am I my brother's keeper? We have to look at what we mean by keeping. Do we make the choices? Is that individual responsible for the choices that they make? I would say yes, the individual is responsible for the choices, but the environment in which we bring that individual up in, I think we are our brother's keeper, because as Robert said earlier, if we bring them up in an environment, then we are responsible for that environment that we bring people up in. We want to blame the gangs and all of this for becoming gangsters and doing the crime and all of that, but we raise them up in an environment where that is acceptable. I say the society has a responsibility to its citizenship.
And I think I agree with you there, brother. I see. But what I would say to the "Am I my brother's keeper?" When you're looking at policy, a school policy, it's right for Robert Battle to say if we all three are school board commissioners. Robert Battle said we want to push the public school agenda. Brother Hasib said we want to push charter school agenda. And I say I want to push private school agenda. That's no cons to the agenda. We're all three right. We're just pushing three different directions of three different ideas of the same subject matter to address this youth, to take care of this young mind. So when we look at like COVID-19 and we're dealing with policies, America is a very unique country. Even though we got over 200 countries in the world and we have some democracies, there's no democracy like America. There's no democracy where you have so many individual rights, and it's up to you individually to make the right choice with the rights that you've been awarded. And many people don't see it as, they think it's almost God-granted rights, and it really is not. I mean, if America ever changed or ever went away, then people would have a rude awakening that most countries don't have the right to choose to say wear the mask or not to wear the mask. I would believe and I would hope that everybody chooses to wear the mask to protect their brothers and sisters. But also would say that if a person chooses not to wear the mask, when I'm at Walmart or somewhere and a person is not wearing the mask, I don't get mad at the person. I just try to ease away from the person, try to give them their space. But it's not for me to say you must do, because that's not the country we live in.
Well, Dr. Gordon, I agree with you 100% on that understanding.
You can't have a butt if you're 100%.
Well, but look at this though.
We're 9%.
Now look at the 86.
86%. Okay. Yeah.
But look at this though, Dr. Gordon.
Yes, sir.
You the primary doctor for the chiropractic clinic.
Yes, sir.
Now, if your doctors will come in and do something contrary, or either just go along with you just because you're the head man, without even taking in consideration what the devastating effect that was Henry mentioned earlier about the mayor of Atlanta and the governor. Well, the governor is trying to keep up with the national administration, make sure that he's on par with that, not taking in consideration what impact it's going to have on the life of his own constituency. See,
that's our assumption.
So, well, that's a reality. That's not.
No, he didn't say it that way. But that's your assumption.
And
that's
let me finish, Dr. Gordon. Let you finish now. I know this is your show, you know.
No, it's our show. Finish your thought.
But more importantly, though, if I go along with something just because you're the chief officer here, when I know it's not right, then where do I fit in that category of trying to am I my brother's keeper?
Right.
Okay, here's the thing. When it comes to the clinic, and we've been essential business. We stayed open the whole time. We haven't been closed one day through COVID-19, and we've been very blessed to all maintain a certain level of health. Dr. Davis is the gentleman who we work together, and we disagree on many things. And it's okay for us to disagree on many things. They're both the right way. We both got a goal at the end to treat the patient. But his way of treating and his approach and my approach can be totally different and can still be supported.
You kill a person.
Well, but seriously, if I have a patient comes in and decide not to wear a mask, the city of Mobile asks that everybody wears a mask. So we try to honor that. However, I would ask my employees that if you don't mind, please put on a mask. But if a patient decides not to wear a mask, then we're going to let that patient not wear a mask, and we just try to sanitize after that patient that doesn't have the mask on. So we won't try to control on that person, even though we should refuse service and should do this, that, and the other. We try to understand that there's many rules of thoughts on this, and no one has to all come my way, if you will.
Well, and I think that's why issues has to be debated. You mentioned earlier, and using your example, that if we were 3 school board commissioners,
yes,
and we had the different thoughts, but the main goal is to get what's best for that child. That's what we should all have. Now, the way we see about getting what's best for that child can be debatable. But if one don't think that child even deserve anything, and the other is trying to get what's best for the child, then I think those are two things that can be clearly distinguished from one another. That one is working for your benefit, and one is working against.
But that's unfair, brother. I see, because I think that
No,
all of us.
I say if we got,
all of us are school board commissioners. We're all have the best interest of that child, and I think all the policy makers, as I don't agree with the politicians. I don't agree with many of the politicians.
I don't either.
But I would think that Republican or Democrat, president, Congress, state, governor, mayors, I think that they all have the best interests of their constituents in their mind. I think they believe the decisions that they make, the decisions that they're making is for them. But it doesn't have to agree with us.
Don't be too easy on them.
They think they're making the right choice for the constituents. And they may not agree with the whoever, but they think they're making the right choice.
Well, to tell the police officer that when they're arresting somebody, don't be too easy on them. I think that's a clear thing of saying that you are against the people that they are arresting. They are still human beings, and we cannot, if we see a wrong, we have to correct that wrong. We have to address that wrong. We just can't say, oh, we just got different of opinion and you killing us. Then we should never address that our lives matter too.
Well, I would say, okay, we're jumping subjects here. We got to wrap this up. Now, I want to say that any statistic you look at, for the percentage of blacks, higher number of blacks are killed. But for the raw numbers, higher number of whites are killed more than blacks, unarmed, 2 to 1. But if you're looking at the percentages of black, the 15% or 20%, whatever you want to go with, then you say the percentage-wise. But the journalists never use the word percentage. They just throw a number out there and make it sound like it's that way. But you got to do your research. It's not that way. Do your research.
So where does your research come from?
My research comes from the internet. I looked at least 3 or 4 sources. I got names of people who've been murdered, unarmed, and it will show you that in a given period I was looking at, there was 40 whites and 20 blacks. In any percentage you look, any
what
number.
country was that?
This is the United States of America. There's no numbers where the blacks outnumber the whites being murdered unarmed, unless you look at the percentages of black population. That's what they say. But when we're talking about COVID-19, I guess we'll go into that subject for the next show. Yeah. But COVID-19 and my brother's keeper wasn't really a great tagline for this. But we're saying that the policymakers may differ, but doesn't mean that they're uncaring or just got a different approach to the same problem. You got Wilder's Kool-Aid mix and you got the Kool-Aid mix. We both want a flavored drink, but one is one brand and one is the other. That's all I'm saying.
Let me conclude by saying that while we have a right as an American, we also have a responsibility to be good citizens.
You're right, and there's so much more we can say on this subject here, and maybe we'll take it up at another time. But thank you for joining in, listening to Rise and Shine, and be sure to tune in next week. We'll be right back next week again.